Hi, today we're going to be talking about how to rewire your brain, more specifically into liking stuff that you originally found hard or boring to do. Now, this is going to be a long episode, so this is why I also uploaded a version on Spotify, which you can listen as a podcast, and either way, great that you're here. So, let's get started. When it comes to rewiring your brain, I think there are four key elements. Those are belief, consistency, quantity, and methods. Also more or less in that order of importance. The first one should seem quite obvious, which is belief. If you don't believe in something, or if you don't believe you can do something, then obviously you're never going to make it work. Our beliefs can empower us, but very often they also limit us. And a lot of people online, coaches, mentors, they'll say the same thing. But then they'll say, oh yeah, just believe in yourself. Like, how do you make yourself believe something? Because it's not really something that you can do on demand. For instance, someone who has a very low self-esteem and has to deliver a presentation, probably they don't believe in themselves or aren't courage enough that they can deliver a good presentation. And that's going to also not help them. Now, the thing is, hopefully, gradually, you'll learn over time to believe in yourself and you'll gain confidence. But in the meantime, there is a tool which I think you can use that will help you. And that is, you don't have to believe it, but write down what you wish were true and say it out loud. Repeat that, write it down again and say it out loud again a few times. And this might seem weird, especially since it feels like you're saying something that feels as if it's not true. But gradually, this will help you. Now, how would you do that? Let's go back to our example of someone who doesn't really believe in themselves that they can speak well as a presentation. For that person, it would be great to say, I am confident. I will deliver a great presentation. I am a good speaker and people are going to like what I do. And I am going to absolutely smash this presentation. All these variations, if that person would write that down, and at the time they might feel ridiculous for doing so, but it will help. And eventually this is one of the steps into rewiring your brain, starting with the believing process. And now sometimes you find it hard to believe something, but you wish you could believe it. And starting with writing this down, this little tool, and saying it to yourself, repetition multiple times, that will help you forward. Now, we can also apply this to making ourselves like hard stuff. At the moment, you believe you don't like running, studying, or anything else you can think of. But that is just something you believe at the moment. Often, a lot of the things we don't like or fear turn out to be not as bad as we expect. And it's mainly the initial start that's quite hard. I think of it like when a small kid refuses to eat something green on their plate and they've never tried it before. It might be super delicious, but they believe they don't, and I hate this thing, and they don't even know what it is. Turns out it's broccoli and it's delicious. But that is one part of it. And the other part is you can trick yourself and you can make yourself believe that you like running even when you initially don't. So how can you do this for rewiring your brain? Well, say you want to study more. That is also something that you have to do. You don't really like it. You think it's boring. Well, you're going to say, I am going to study for 30 minutes and I'm going to enjoy that. With that, you basically putting down that you are believing that you're going to study and that you are going to do that action and that you're going to enjoy it, which sounds weird, but keep on affirming that. That will definitely help. So that's already a tool for trying to believe in yourself. That is also one of the most important things for anything you want to change, including your brain, is it starts with belief. Second one, which is consistency. And this is even more important than quantity, which is coming later on. And that is basically that you have to continue and keep on doing stuff if you want to make progress, because you can't change your brain overnight. It will require adapting and it will require building it. As I mentioned before, Your brain is like a muscle, and you can't go to the gym once, lift loads of heavy weights, and then expect to get ripped arms the next day. No, that is a process that will take several months, if not years. Consistency is really important, and also to keep on doing it after you've rewired your brain is important, because that's also the concept of use it or lose it. If you don't maintain it, that will definitely have an impact. Now, another reason why consistency is important is because the thing is, if you do something enough times, it becomes your new normal level. And that's that you can see it, for instance, if you would go on a attraction ride, then the first time it's going to be exhilarating. You're going to love it whoa. But if you would do that every single day, sure, it'll still be fun, but I think you would not like it as much, and it would definitely not be the same as the first time, which is actually also good for if you're trying to rewire your brain into liking stuff that you don't normally do. Because if you do it more and more often, it's going to be less bad, okay? So you're going to get used to it. So it's not going to be that bad anymore, and you might actually start to enjoy it, which is weird, but you can because in the long term, you'll get the benefits of it. For instance, with running. If you never done running before and then you start doing it, it's not going to be that fun because, it's a hard exercise. But if you continue doing it, then you're going to get used to the initial discomfort of the run. And later on, you'll get the endorphins from running, which is really good. Running actually makes you happier. It's proven, but that's only once you got used to the discomfort of it. And that's why consistency is key. So remember that you have to be consistent and do something regularly and enough times in order to rewire your brain. Number 3, which is quantity. And this one should seem kind of obvious because you have to do something enough time. You have to do it a lot in order to actually make a change. And how do I put this? Say, for instance, you want to get better at math. You know now that you need to do it consistently, and you believe in yourself that your brain can change, that you can do math, and that your grey matter can grow, and that your math skills can expand. Now, if you would do 2 minutes of math exercise every day, okay, it's a great start, but you're not going to get much improvement. You're not going to see a significant amount of change because, you're only doing 2 minutes. So you really have to build on stuff, and it is important to actually do a significant amount for there to actually be real change. And this is especially the case for if you're trying to rewire your brain. If you engage in activities that you don't really normally wouldn't really like, but you only do 10 minutes a day, and the rest of the day you're doing all stuff that you really, really enjoy, that 10 minutes a day is gonna feel really bad. It's not gonna feel fun because you obviously don't enjoy it, but you need to really do enough of it. Ironically, at the start, you have to invest enough quantity in this activity in order to basically make a change. Okay, number 4, which is methods, and that is the last key element. This one is really big. It's a very vast topic, and this basically ranges from all the tips, tricks, hacks that will help you to reduce friction, make stuff easier, or maybe accelerate the rate that you change your brain. And for rewiring your brain into liking stuff that you originally found hard or boring, there is a crucial aspect to it, which is dopamine. So by now you've probably heard of dopamine, hormone that pushes your actions, that is responsible for you taking actions, and it also gets released when you do fun activities. For instance, going on a roller coaster ride, eating a piece of chocolate, watching a movie, social media. But actually, dopamine gets released with every single action that you do. It's the basis of doing every single action, and you'll get a bit of dopamine every time you complete something, or engaging in an activity. Now, why is this important? Well, it brings us to the concept of relativity. When it comes to dopamine, some activities will release a lot of dopamine. For instance, eating a really nice donut. But reading a book, for instance, will release a much lower amount. But it doesn't mean that the enjoyment from reading a book is much less than eating a donut. You see, that can be very relative depending on the dopamine levels and the state that you have. If you have really high dopamine levels, so you're continuously used to having loads of fun stuff happening, you're used to eating loads of sweets, loads of ice cream, candy, and donuts, and then you have a donut, you're going to enjoy that donut much, much less than someone who eats salad all the time and then tastes a donut. Same thing for if you're working all day and then you engage in an activity such as reading a book, which some people might consider boring, but you might actually really enjoy that because compared to the rest of your day, that was really fun. And this is an important concept to know for rewiring your brain into liking stuff that you originally don't, because most people now have really high dopamine levels. And this is also because of social media. You get the continuous hit, and most people, they're not really used to being bored or in having low dopamine levels. But you can actually consciously try to lower those dopamine levels. And if you do that, then relatively, activities are going to seem more fun. That is why if you engage in, for instance, learning long enough, you'll find it fun, or it becomes your normal dopamine level and it will be all right for you. Now, how can we leverage this? Ideally, what you would do to basically start enjoying things, and that's the most extreme kind of tool hack that you could use, and it requires a lot of motivation and discipline to do, and that is a dopamine detox. You're going to systematically cut away the things that you now give you a lot of dopamine, such as social media. If you would cut that out, there's loads of benefits to doing that. Then you're basically lowering your dopamine levels, meaning all the other activities you're going to do are going to become much more enjoyable because relatively you've got lower dopamine levels, and so when you engage in a different activity, it's going to be more fun. Now, that is quite hard, and most people can't really do that. I find it also quite hard myself. So what you can also do is you can gradually cut down on it, and you can also add a bit of dopamine or add a bit of fun to the activities that you find hard. A great example of that is music. Now, music is awesome and it makes you happy. Did you know that, for instance, after listening 10 minutes of pop music, for instance, you automatically become happier? Like, objectively, scientifically, it's proven. So if you really have an activity or a task that you think, really not really looking forward to doing that, I really don't like this, do it with your favorite playlist on, and you're going to enjoy it at least more than without. So give that a go. And keeping in mind, ending on this theme, basically the rewiring of your brain and trying to lower your dopamine levels is a very important step. There are different methods and ways to reduce friction and to do that, which is too much to elaborate in a single video, but at least you now know, and you got a tip for the next time you got to do a hard task, which is put on your favorite playlist and get cracking. All right, so that was the end of the video. Now you know a little bit more about how neuroplasticity can work to your benefit and how to rewire your brain with the 4 key elements, which are your belief. You have to believe that it's possible, and you can change that with actually writing it down, repeating to yourself that you can do it. Then the second one is consistency. You have to do it enough times to actually create a change. And if you don't do it often, then you'll lose it. So use it or lose it. Then the third thing was quantity. You have to also do it enough in a large amount of quantity to actually make a change. And the fourth one is methods, which are all the little tips, tricks, and hacks. Thereby, it's important to know for when you're trying to change your brain into liking stuff that's hard to lower your dopamine levels. And the dopamine plays an important, crucial role in what you like to do and what you're going to do. So, with that in mind, that was the end of the video. Try to apply at least what you've learned in this podcast, albeit trying to convince yourself that you believe stuff by writing it down, repeating it, or by putting on some music and doing a hard task and enjoying it more. Thanks for listening to this episode, and I hope to catch you in the next one. And well, now you might be thinking like, well, that's easy to say, Max, but like, shit, that still sounds quite hard, and how do I really begin? Well, don't worry. I will definitely go over some methods with you later on, and to show that I'm serious about this. I've done it already before for math, I've done it for studying in general, for sport, but there's something that I wanted to do, and that is to cut sugar completely out of my diet. I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to rewire my brain into actually enjoying a diet and a lifestyle without any added sugar, or with really low sugar levels. So yeah, I'll be documenting my progress on that to show you that it is possible. And yeah, I hope to catch you in the next one. Hope it will work out, and see you then.